They say you learn from your mistakes. I gotta tell you, lately I've been making so many, I'm soon to be a genius. What's up everybody, welcome back to the Danator channel. This video is episode 2 of Thrillbilly's Project Poorvette. In the first episode, Thrillbilly acquired a 1985 Chevrolet Corvette that he had to trailer home because, well, it's not running well to say the least. So in today's video, Thrillbilly is going to try to figure out just why the Poorvette ain't running right. Enjoy the video. Alright, what's up everybody? This is my daughter Alyssa, aka non-hired help, to help me clean out the Roadkill Poorvette, that's what I want to call it. So what I'm going to do now is going to try to get the interior vacuumed out, get some things cleaned up, and make it hopefully smell a little bit nicer on the inside. And then I'm going to have my daughter help me try to get the hood open, pulling on the latch, and it's not popping the lock on it. So in the meantime, do some cleaning, make it look a little nicer. Well, make it look as nice as it possibly can. Anyway, we'll get to work. Alright, so I was having a little bit of trouble getting the hood latch open. I pulled on it, nothing happened. So there's this metal hook on here. Previous owner had using it to kind of help get the latch undone. So my daughter was pulling up on the hood when I pulled down on that, and it popped it right open. Here's the business end. This is a 1985 tune port injected Chevrolet V8. It does have some aftermarket valve covers on it. The alternator was kind of making some noise, so I'm going to have to see about replacing the alternator because it may have a bad bearing in it or something. As you can see in the video when we were loading it up, it wants to backfire through the intake, just not really want to idle very well. So I'm going to check fuel pressure and some other things to see if I can figure out if I've got a bad air fuel mixture or a vacuum leak somewhere or something. Maybe have a little bit of a power steering leak. I think there's a little bit of oil drip coming from the oil plug underneath the oil pan. Maybe just get a new oil plug with a seal on it, might be able to keep that from leaking. But I don't really see any other kind of leaks coming from the engine or the transmission. So guy said he put new injectors in it. He said he put new spark plugs in it. Make sure that all the spark plug boots are on correctly, because that may be causing the misfire too. I don't know. I'm going to have my volunteered help start vacuuming out the car, get some of the stuff cleaned up, and I'm going to see if I can fiddle with some of these wires and stuff underneath the hood, see if there's anything noticeable that's causing the engine to run poorly.
Oh. There's a bunch of stuff that gets stuck in it.
Right now I'm just checking all the plug wires, make sure they're actually on the spark plug. Okay, so I think I may have found something pretty significant here. This appears to be some kind of vacuum line. As you can see, it's not even connected to anything. And there's something right there. I am going to try to find something to plug that and start the car again and see if that is not our problem. Okay, so I plugged that little hole that was on the side of the intake manifold, and I gave her a quick start up. Still wants to die, but it's running way better than what it did before. So let's start it up again. I do not have my foot on the gas pedal and it is idling. And that's come a long way from where it was, wasn't it, Liz? High five. Alright, I'm going to take her up and down the road a little bit. Let's see if I put it in gear, if it wants to drop below and kill. Yep, still doing it. Let's see if I can get it. At least it's idling now. Start it up. Let me see if I can, when I put it in reverse, it wants to die. Let's see if I can do that.
Oh yeah.
It's going.
We're moving.
She's rolling, Liz.
Yeah.
See how the brakes work. They're working.
Yeah.
We got brakes. The rear window tint so bad I can hardly see out the back window. Turn signal's on and it dies.
Uh-oh.
That actually might be a fuel filter problem.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
We're going.
Still wanting to backfire a little bit.
still sputtering when I accelerate, but at least we're going now. Whereas before we weren't getting anything done. It's hard enough to even keep it running.
We made some progress.
Oh, she just died. Let's get her going.
Please don't die permanently on the hill. I really don't want to push it up.
It's a little squirrely in the front. I wonder if it needs an alignment or something.
Oh.
At least we're rolling. Sometimes after they've been sitting for so long, they just need to run. Still has a hesitation in it. We'll have to figure that one out.
Rolling.
Tires, I can tell the tires are bad. They're old and rotted. Don't want to go too far on them. Got good oil pressure, got voltage. Coolant temps at 175. Doing 50 miles an hour.
We've only been working on this for what?
It's half an hour, 40 minutes. Stay running.
Don't die, don't die. Still going. Now. Oh, now we're going down.
Oh, she died on me. I have to figure that one out.
They're barely making
Want
it.
to see if it'll do a burnout?
Yeah. I'm trying to do a burnout. Woo! Still in the car.
Oh, you dirty rat.
There we go. Oh, whoa. Oh.
Yeah. Gotta get that hesitation fixed.
All right, well, it's 2 weeks later. I think a day or two after I had taken the Vette for its first test drive, it was maiden voyage. Then we had a winter storm come through, and Vette sat for 2 weeks just sitting under snow and ice. All the snow was melted. It's supposed to be a high of 60 today, which is going to be great. I ended up renting a fuel pressure gauge, and I wanted to test the fuel system on the Vette. And here is the result of the first test. So as you can see, the needle jumps up to 20 when I turn the key on, and then it wants to go to 40 when it starts, but it doesn't want to idle. And as soon as I turn the engine off, or as soon as it sputtered and died, the fuel pressure dropped back down to 20 pretty quickly. And then when it sat, it just lost all of its fuel pressure within a few seconds to a minute. So according to the manual I got, it should be around 32 to 36 psi for fuel pressure, and it's definitely not staying there. So the likely culprit is a bad check valve on the fuel pump. Before I throw any expensive parts at this car, I want to kind of narrow it down as much as I can. I did buy a fuel filter already for the vehicle. I was going to do that anyway. Could possibly be a fuel pressure regulator. Maybe there's a stuck injector and it's staying open and it's letting the fuel pressure drop through the fuel injector. I don't smell excessive gas when I start and shut off the vehicle, so I don't know if that's it. I think it may have something to do with what's inside the gas tank. I'm going to run a couple tests to see if I can narrow down where the fuel is kind of siphoning off. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm gonna go back to the car. I'm gonna pinch this return line here and keep the fuel system from returning back to the gas tank. If I do that and the fuel pressure gauge does not drop, then that tells me that I have a bad fuel pressure regulator. Because with an unpinched return fuel line, the fuel just goes right through the regulator because it may have a damaged spring or a bad diaphragm in it, and the fuel just returns right back to the tank via the return line. And because of that, the fuel line cannot maintain pressure. Now, if the fuel pressure drops with the return line pinched off, then that tells me that there's something wrong with the fuel pump, or possibly a line inside the tank, or a line somewhere going to the engine. The check valves can go bad in these pumps, and if that's the case, the pump sends the fuel, but the check valve being bad, the fuel just drops right back into the tank. Or there could be a line from the pump itself anywhere inside the tank or down the line of the car to the engine that may have a leak in it, but there is no smell of gas outside the vehicle whenever the fuel pressure drops. So if that's the case, then it's probably all contained within the tank, either a bad check valve or a bad line or hose from the pump to the sending line. All right, so let's start the test. This fuel line's got some nicks and cuts in it, so I was able to get it off. I'm gonna put this bolt in there, clamp this on there so that I shut off my return line and see if it holds pressure. See what we do here. Immediately drops off. Let me see if I just sprayed gas all over my gas tank in the back. Yeah, it looks like I just sprayed gas all over the place back here. Don't have a really good plug here. Let me try again. I hear the fuel pump run, and as soon as the fuel pump shuts off, pressure drops off. All right, so I'm at a point now where I'm kind of confused at what I want to do next. I had to ask for my help to come out and help me. Since there's no gas going back into the tank, I'm thinking the fuel pump may have a bad hose that connects the pump to the fuel line, and that hose may have enough integrity to let fuel go to the engine, but not enough to hold it to keep the pressure up. Maybe it's got a crack in it or something that's letting the pressure go down. What I'm going to do is going to take the fuel pump out of the tank and inspect it just to see if all the hoses and stuff are in order. All right, so I have all of the hoses disconnected. Alyssa got bolts out for me. I've disconnected the power to the fuel pump, which was this connector right here, and try to lift this thing straight out. Hopefully without dropping a bunch of crud down into the gas tank.
It's got a big...
The gas gauge on the dashboard says it's full all the time. So I got to looking at the level indicator switch or sensor or whatever this thing's called, and it's in a bunch of pieces in there. So this is no longer good. I'm just going to order a new one of these, order a new fuel pump too. I'm afraid that the check valve is bad on this. The fuel pressure regulator underneath the intake plenum is probably bad too. I've already got a fuel filter, so I'm going to get that put on when I get all these parts in. All right, so it's been yet another week later. I've ordered parts for the project Poorvette. So I've got a new fuel pump, got a new fuel filter, the strainer for the pump, sending unit gasket. My car was missing this, but I found a rubber shroud that goes around the filler neck, and then I've got my new sending unit. So today what I'm going to try to do is get all of this stuff put together to drop into the car. Let's go ahead and get started with the fuel filter first, and then we'll work on getting the fuel pump and the sending unit put together, and then pray that this will do the trick and that we'll be able to get this car running and idling smoothly, holding fuel pressure, and being able to make it drivable. And then there's a whole other laundry list of things that I've got to get done to this project. Okay, so I don't have any fuel pressure in the system at all, so I'm not worried about any fuel just spraying me all over the face. I guess there's no way around it. You're gonna get
gas in your armpit. All right, it took some doing. This thing was wanting to cross thread. Now that I got that, I'm gonna go ahead and send it. Got the fuel pump plugged in, connected to my new sending unit. Got a new rubber gasket to go around it for the tank. I'm gonna go to the car now, to the tank, and get that old one peeled off and cleaned up, and see if I can get the surfaces cleaned so that I'll be ready to drop this thing in. All right, so this is really crusty in here. I'm starting to drop some junk down in the tank, so I don't know really what the best way to approach this. I tried my best to get this stuff off without dropping a bunch of it down inside the tank. All right, so I got the gasket off. It's pretty scaly around a couple places, pretty rusty, but I was able to siphon some of the gas out of the tank. There's still a little bit at the bottom. So I've got the tank completely empty of gasoline. I was able to siphon it out and then kind of paper towel it out and get my arm down in there. Got most of the sediment out of the bottom. Need to try to line up the number of holes together. So 3 on the bottom, 2 on the top. Sender line, return line, and vent tube are all connected up. I just gotta plug in my wiring harness, put some gas in it, and then we'll hook up the battery cable, see where we are. All right, so that's the result. I didn't catch it on camera, but I turned the key and it jumped up, and we are holding pressure now. It's not losing any pressure. It's about 30 PSI, right where it should be. So in theory, this thing should start and run idle on its own now. Let's see what it does. Not good. Well, it's doing the exact same thing it was doing before, but this time it's holding fuel pressure. All right, so I just got back from taking it around the block. Wasn't great, was it, Lissa?
No.
But it was a lot better than what it was before. It's idling a little bit better now. It still has a miss in it. When I push the gas pedal down, it wants to bog and die. It kind of falls on its face. So after I had did the shot where we were trying to get it to idle or whatever, I said, let's pack it up, go inside. I thought, well, I got one more idea. And I started the car up again, and there is a idle adjustment screw on the front of the plenum. So I adjusted the screw just so it won't die, and that helped it. But we just came around the block. It's wanting to fall on its face when I give it some gas. But once it goes, kind of jerks you around a little bit. But the first test drive, it was rough. This time was a little bit better, but there's still something that's keeping this thing from wanting to stay running. I'm thinking it might be the fuel pressure regulator. I noticed that the air intake tube just between the mass airflow sensor and the throttle body's got a bunch of holes, and maybe that's causing something. I don't know, but I'm gonna have to do some redneck ingenuity on there, tape it up or something, and we'll do some more research and try to figure this thing out. Stick with us on the journey. We'll get there. Peace out. Like a boss.